Hello there again. So Keir Starmer has announced that he's willing to put British troops on the ground in Ukraine to enforce a peace deal. That sentence doesn't sound like it goes together, but it appears like the Prime Minister of this country has taken the decision to put British servicemen and women in harm's way. However, it needs to be borne in mind that Keir Starmer said it wasn't a decision he took lightly. Well, thank you for that, Prime Minister. He's considering deploying British peacekeepers, again there's that peace word, peacekeepers, to Ukraine, and comes ahead of a meeting with European leaders today. So there's going to be a meeting today with the European leaders, an emergency gathering called by Emmanuel Macron, the French president, after it emerged that European leaders had not been invited to Ukraine talks between the US and Russia. Now, I think the US knows that the more people in a negotiation, the better. I think there's a lot of shouting on about the fact that everyone's been excluded. I don't think people have been excluded. What I think is going on is I think America wants to go and talk to Russia to see what they're prepared to do. And then America's going to approach Europe and say, look, we've had a chat with Russia, and this is what they're going to offer. And then Trump's going to bring Ukraine in with Russia. Now, this is how Trump operates. He's a deal maker. And all of this summit, this is how Europe conducts itself. It conducts itself with these 28 countries where everyone has a chat and nothing ever gets done. And this is the fundamental differences between how Europe likes to do things and how Donald Trump likes to make a deal. And this is how he rolls. This is how he goes on. So, looking at some of these facts here, and really an examination of how popular is this with the British public. Well, if you do ask people, generally speaking, the mood seems to be that Putin should not have invaded Ukraine. Everyone agrees with that. In this century in Europe, given what happened in the 20th century in Europe, it's not okay for a country to invade another country. It's not okay. It's not okay to just say, oh, I'm just going to roll into this country and take over that country. Right? It's not right. It's not fair. And I think everybody agrees with that. However, if you just look at some of these stats here, in 2024 alone, it's been reported, there are differences to all of the numbers I'm going to present here. I have tried to average the numbers out from various sources, which include the, some European reports, DirectGov, American state reports, etc. But in 2024, Ukraine lost 427,000 troops, with some reports stating that in December 2024 they lost 43,000. Now, it's been reported, and again these numbers could be up for debate, that Russian soldiers killed since the start of the war are 250,000. And the troops approximately left are about 500,000 on the Ukraine side and 1.3 million on the Russian side, and this doesn't include reservists. So looking at those numbers and that absolute meat grinder, that generation killer that's happening, there needs to be another solution found. Europe have been standing hand-wringing for the last 18 months. Biden did nothing. Trump's trying to shake up the pot here, and I think what the European leaders should have done is allow him to just go and see what he can shake out of the situation, because there needs to be an end to this forever war. We can't keep throwing our young men and women into this meat grinder forever until it's just a battle of attrition. So Russia's ultimately going to win the war, if that's the case, because they have more troops. Now, one of the most fascinating aspects when you're looking at our national perspective is Keir Starmer's apparent wish to send our troops into this conflict to peacekeep. But it needs to be borne in mind that the British soldier count is now just dropped below 73,000, depending again where you look at these reports, which is the lowest since the Napoleonic era. So we have about, we'll give or take, 75,000 troops. Now, it's been stated that up to 300,000 troops may be needed to bolster the defences of Ukraine up and down, where the war is happening. So really, Starmer's preparing to commit a tiny proportion of that. So where exactly are these 300,000 troops going to come from? From Germany? From France? From the countries of Europe? I don't think Europe can muster 300,000 troops. In addition, as I'll pop this graph up, our defence spending is at its lowest for quite a while. So we're currently spending 2.3% approximately of our GDP, with Starmer saying he has an ambition to hit 2.5%. These numbers, our armed forces personnel, the amount we spend on GDP, the amount Europe spends on GDP, these numbers don't add up. This meeting today, this summit, is about the irrelevance of European leaders, how our European leaders have neglected our defence. They haven't invested for a long time, and they've allowed America to peacekeep and be the world's policeman. And I think Donald Trump has signalled an end to that, and that Europe has to pull its fair share. On the radio this morning, Wes Streeting said, "The first duty of a government is to protect its lands and borders." And I found that to be quite a funny state of affairs, given that we can't stop rubber dinghies coming across from France into our country. Very, very strange state of affairs. But anyway, let's see what happens today. Let's see what the Americans get done in terms of their negotiations, and let's see the big and grand statements that come out of this European summit. Because I think ultimately the Europeans are going to get together and realise that they've neglected our own defence for far too long, and that they really don't have that much to commit. Thanks for your time now.